Robert M. Gagne's Conditions of Learning. Robert M. Gagne was born in 1916 and passed in 2002. He was an American educational psychologist who was pulled from academia to assist the military during World War II. This is where he first started to apply his theory of best instructional practices. He moved back into the university system and published many studies and several books, including The Conditions of Learning and Principles of Learning. He is best known for his theory called conditions of learning, or sometimes summarized as the Gagne assumption. This is where different types of learning exist, and different instructional conditions will bring different types of learning. Two studies were both recently published in 2018. The first was based on classroom design. This study examined if the classroom environment affected learning outcomes based on Gagne's theory. This was completed in Kenya. The second was a medical education-based theory, where they compared electrocardiogram instruction based upon Gagne's condition-based learning theory for quality. It overturned the unlikely but common conclusion that all teaching approaches are equally effective. There are 5 conditions that Gagne identified: intellectual, cognitive, attitudes, motor skills, and verbal. Intellectual skills delves into the understanding of why, not only that you understand numbers, but why and how you can manipulate those numbers. Cognitive takes into consideration problem solving and using a plan and changing that plan if it doesn't work. Something unique about Gagne's theory was the inclusion of attitudes. This was to apply taught knowledge to improve upon the original thought. So how you perceived something and that you would strive to do better based on the knowledge that you learned. Motor skills, doing hands-on items, but doing so in a smooth, knowing way. The last is verbal, the ability to recall and memorize items. Gagne has 9 steps of planning instruction. The first is to identify types of learning outcomes. So these are what you want your students to learn, your objectives. Any prerequisites, skills, knowledge that you think your learner needs to know beforehand. Identify the types of instruction needed to reach those targeted outcomes. So you need to look at what methods you're going to use as a teacher or in your area to best instruct those students that you have. Specify the learning context. Finding out the why. This is where you would record characteristics of the learners, what type of students you have, learning styles that they may need to have special instruction for. And to select the media of instruction. What tools are you going to use? What format are you going to put your instruction into? And this next one plays back to the conditions, the attitude, to positively motivate the learner. Once you've given instruction to a small sample set, you need to test that your instruction was of quality. So you would give a formative assessment to that small subset group that you tested your instruction on. And then after instruction, you would give a summative evaluation to judge the effectiveness of the instruction. Did it work? Next, you would have practical development. How would you use this in real world? There's a whole process that you're going to follow. The first is to gain attention So you can tell a short story or give a juicy headline or something that would be disruptive, a shocking visual. This plays into Milton Erickson's pattern interruption, or the WIIFM, what is in it for me? The second is to inform your learner of the objective. This is something like the super crazy amazing stuff that we'll learn today. So with my students, keeping your food safe would be an example. The third is prior knowledge. You want to stimulate your students to pull their prior knowledge forward so that they can apply what they're going to learn on top of what they already know. So I may say to my students, yesterday you learned why it's so important to wash your hands. Now what? You can use a mind map, you can use discussion. This is all to build up to learning that new content and applying it. So the fourth is to present your information. Build new knowledge on top of that prior knowledge you pulled forward. Other ways to prevent foodborne illness may be an example from my course. You want to use chunking for this and give something for them to build into so they know that they're acquiring the right knowledge as you go along. You're going to help them along with this by providing guidance. This can be in the form of a rubric. You may give informal feedback as you go along, but you need to make sure that you continue to give them guidance. So number 6 is practice. This is elicit performance. Your students need to practice in a safe environment in order to feel confident moving forward. Number 7 is feedback. This could be a small quiz, a one-to-one discussion with your students, and you need to tell them why they scored a certain way and what they need to work on. Number 8 is assess performance. So this is performance test. So can they do it on their own? And then number 9 is to enhance retention. So you want to review, have them apply in real world. This is the doing and the end result so that they can keep that new knowledge that they acquired. Here we have the resources that we used for this lesson.